So shall we into the episode?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Man, any big thinky thoughts before we swan dive in?
So my two biggest, I now have a note card for initial thoughts so I can partake in this part of our episodes more coherently. But I only have really two minor ones. The alternate working title for this episode is Gilead as Elsewhere. Like from start to finish, it's just all that it came through to me is yes, she's in Canada, and yes, this is going to be difficult because Gilead is nowhere near out of her despite her being away from it. And it's what we've always talked about and guessed about would happen if she gets to Canada. We've always compared what June's experience would be to everyone else that we've seen with their different challenges being a refugee in Canada. And June's are just more unique and we know more about it and it makes sense, but it was jarring. And that leads me to my second thought, which was what was happening in that last scene. Because, like, I don't know if I was just picking up on weird things, but I mean, I just really need to know what you guys saw, because what I saw every single time I watched that last, like, 10 minutes is very, very alarming to me. So, and I'm not really sure what exactly I'm getting out of it other than, like, what the
I'm very much inclined to agree with you on that because what I got was, oh no, oh, I don't like this at all. Oh, what the fuck?
Okay, and I wasn't like seeing weird things that no one else was seeing. Okay, great, because that was...
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, like after the first time of watching that and dealing with watching it and absorbing it and then going back and revisiting it, very shortly before we jumped back on, what I got from that was as much trauma as June has been through in this and we see that by when she's in the grocery store and she needs to like take time to sit down, and Moira and Luke are like, before this happens, they're like, are you sure you're gonna be okay? Like they understand the kind of trauma that she's been through. As much as she is coping with that as a survivor, she's also coping with that as someone who has had to deal with, in some way, shape, and form, indoctrination into this mentality that this is acceptable for someone that, like, when they are exerting their will on another person, to be able to do it by any means necessary and to be able to exert their power and their force. So, like, that's what I like ended up going back to. It was less like in season 2 when she was in the Boston Globe, like her taking back her power and her like really owning her sexuality. It was more like a taking it back by force, which harkened back to the trauma that she has endured, and where as much as she doesn't want to think that she is within that aligns with that, after 7 years of enduring that, those sort of behaviors are going to start to become more normal to her than behaviors that we see as normal.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I definitely was thinking about that scene at the Boston Globe. It was an entirely different feeling, although the act was not entirely different altogether. But it evoked this like very, very freeing. She was taking back all this agency and sovereignty and choice. And it was such a great moment for me to watch as a viewer. Like that, I just really loved that in June. And that's what's I've always loved about her relationship with Nick, is that she's had that ability. And then to see it mirrored here in this episode with Luke, it was jarring. And I pretty much got everything that you were saying. Like, I agree with you that is what happens when you've lived in Gilead for 7 years and you've operated under just base survival. But what was the most jarring to me was actually that last scene after that. That was the sex scene was not great.
Yeah.
But the monologue at the end is what really, really fucked me up. And I was like, what are they saying exactly? Because I guess it kind of does go into what you were saying, Roxy, with the scene with Luke, that monologue. But the way that June's words were flipped on her, we'll get there. Sorry, I forget. Yeah. We should probably get into the first scene first. But
yeah. What it boils down to is, how does one who has been under such horrific circumstances acclimate to a normal life?
Yeah.
She's had 7 years of this. That is going to change a person. I was just thinking how we're just coming off of vows, and how Luke was saying that he is not the same person, that he was, back when he was married to, Annie. Well, right now, he's not the same person that June was married to, and June is not the same person that he was married to. And what worked with Nick in that way of taking back her power is not necessarily going to work with Luke, because Luke is a different person, and these are vastly different circumstances. So it definitely put me on the lookout for the rift that I am anticipating is going to happen. I don't think that things are going to be okay for her. And it feels so defeating to me to say that, but it's only because we know what is going to come from her come for her in the testaments if they decide to really take it in that direction. We know that her and Luke are apart, and it's 15 years off in the future, and she's underground somewhere. So that tells me that while other survivors may be able to acclimate to a normal, non-volatile life again, I don't know if June is going to be one of them.
Right. Well, the
Right.
biggest thing that jumps out at me from the testaments in June's plight moving forward is actually the 2 assassination attempts.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that's going to be something that actually happens, then she's not even kind of out of it. You know what I mean? She's not safe in any way, shape, or form. She's still going to be hunted. And Canada is not far enough away from Gilead.
Yeah.
Right.
If she stays in Canada anyway.
Right. That's a good point. Shall we into it?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it.